All right, I hit record and I'm with Honoree Corder. Honoree, I'm going to read your bio real quick, which always feels weird because you're like, I'm looking at you as I read this, but
No.
we're just going to do it. It's going to be
Okay,
weird.
perfect. Okay.
So Honoree is the author of 65 books and counting, including Write Your First Nonfiction Book. She's a published consultant, TEDx speaker, excellent TEDx talk, by the way, and founder of the Indie Author University. Honoree passionately turns aspiring nonfiction writers into best-selling and best earning authors and so much more. She also runs an Empire Builders Mastermind, does all sorts of other magical things, and her badassery is legendary, which I can attest to because I've watched you for several years and you've had a big impact on my life. So I agree with all of these things. Thanks for coming on here.
It is an honor to
Really
be with
appreciate it.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I first engaged with your work. My goal today, the reason I asked you to come on is because your work had a huge impact on me. I don't know that I've ever told you that. Have I ever told you that?
Just in your email
Okay. So your
this
work had a big
morning.
impact on me over specifically about 2 years ago. I signed up for one of your courses that allowed me to come to kind of office hours meetings with you. And I would
Yeah.
typically sit in the back of them and not say much, but I was absorbing a ton.
Okay.
And I've been thinking about like kind of building up the courage to bring you on, I think, because I wanted to introduce what I would call your relentless effort to get us to value ourselves. Um, to the Dialogue Doctor community because I think
Mm.
you are a voice that a lot of authors need in their life. So even if they're not I know you specialize in nonfiction authors, but even, for me as a fiction author, hearing what, your kind of calls for self-worth and value and believing in your own future, I think was super important. So I wanted to bring you in. Yeah, I think when I first started engaging with you, I've been publishing now for 9 years. And
Right
for the
on.
first like 7 years, the first 12 novels, I really hated everything I wrote. And it wasn't about
Oh,
the people on the podcast know this because I talk about it all the time. So this don't feel too bad for me. It was it wasn't about the like words being bad. The words were actually good and writers liked them. But I was like, I had a lot of people's voices in my head. I was trying to be find approval from a lot of people that
hmm.
in your books you talk about like are never going to approve of you anyway. So I was kind
And
of
even if they do, it won't matter
yeah, yeah. And because sometimes they would, and then I'd be like, yeah, but that other group doesn't. Yeah. And
as long
so
as you don't. As long as you don't, it doesn't matter how many people do or don't. Right?
talk about that a little bit. Do you mind just
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could give everyone the gift of just thinking they're okay. You don't have to
mm,
think you're awesome, although that's a great idea. But please don't think that you're less than okay.
mm,
Like, okay should be the bar. And I have a pretty interesting story in terms of self esteem. Um, Maybe not interesting to anyone else, but it was certainly interesting to me the day that I realized that if I didn't like myself, it didn't matter who did or didn't.
mm,
Because no one knows. Someone can go, "Oh, I love baby turtles,"
hmm
right?
yeah,
And and they don't care. They're
yeah,
just baby turtles. Um, but ultimately, have you ever, and we all have, admired someone only to realize they were human and that was such a bummer?
yeah.
And
Is
we're
that whole
all
like, yeah,
and
don't
we're
meet your
all
heroes thing?
human.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you put people up on a pedestal only to realize that they're fallible and human, just like you are. And then it's
hmm
kind of a bummer because you go, "Oh, I thought they were all that in a box of chips and they're really not." And so then we turn it on ourselves. I don't know that I'm being all that eloquent, but I I I have a relentless pursuit of people just thinking they're cool. Whether you like me or you don't like me, I think I'm cool. I spend most of my time with myself.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because I found that when I was struggling with how I felt about myself, it had a huge impact on my career. Like I was
Of course.
not marketing my
Yeah.
books. I was not like talking to readers
Yeah.
about them. Readers would ask me what book is I want to start reading your stuff. Because they'd like see me give a talk, or they'd like read something I wrote online, or
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Hey Jeff, I read this, I really liked it. I want to start reading your books. Which book should I start with?"
Right.
And my answer would always be, "Oh, you should start with the next one I'm doing because the other ones aren't very good."
Mm.
And like, what
And
a
are you over that now, or do we need to do that in this time
I'm
we have
totally over
together?
that now.
Okay.
Well,
Like, we need
I
to
say
use our time
totally.
wisely. So what are
Yeah,
we
I
doing?
said, yeah, that's right. We do have therapy session for Jeff. No, I'm totally, I think being a part of your courses and being in your calls really
Yes.
helped me start asking the question of like, why do I feel this way
Yeah.
about my work? Why am I
Yeah.
allowing this voice in my head that's like, you're not as good as other people to actually like impact my ability to like earn for my family, my ability to like create a
Right.
career, all that kind of stuff.
When
So it was
it's all there for the taking.
yeah, and I think that was another thing that like I think something you said to me, this was have been like 2 or 3 years ago on a call was you asked me like, well, what is your goal for like what's your financial goal for your fiction this year? And I was like, oh, I can't even come up with a financial goal for my fiction. It's never going to happen. And
Yeah.
you said to me, why not? And I like
I'm so
kind of
bossy.
what it was great. It's exactly what I needed. So I kind of like muddled an answer to you, but I left that call going like, why not? Why can't I? Like,
Mm.
why is this? And
Yeah.
it took months of me kind of meditating on that. Like, why not? Why can't I do
Wow.
this? To finally
Yeah.
get to the place where it's like, no, I can do this, and I am the only one telling myself that I can't. Um, but yeah, it's actually a funny. I'm wearing this shirt, the Dialogue Doctor shirt, as we talk, partially because I still have a struggle with self promotion. It's tough for me, and my
Well, if you don't
wife,
promote you, who's gonna? Right?
yeah,
I mean, at the
exactly,
end of the day, when someone takes my book, Kent Sanders, our mutual friend, took my most recent book and did a whole post on it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I was like, hallelujah. Thank you so much. Right?
yeah, because how often does that happen? Like
How often
nobody
does
ever
that
does that.
happen?
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to just think you're okay. And you stumbled upon something that was a tactic I used back in the day, which was you used my voice to encourage you because your voice was saying the opposite of the result that you wanted. I did that with Tony Robbins. I let Tony
interesting.
Robbins say the past is not the future. Anything you want to
Mm,
create is possible. Turn impossible into I'm possible. And I did that for a very long time until my voice was equally as powerful going, well, why can't you do it?
interesting.
Why aren't you
Yeah,
doing it? Get out there and shut up and just go do it. Like stop overthinking it and stop doubting yourself and just go make it happen. Like don't listen to anyone's voice, including yours, including mine, that says I can't or shouldn't do something. So
yeah,
sometimes you've got to use someone else's voice, and sometimes that person is a coach, sometimes that person is a mentor, sometimes that person runs the mastermind that you're going to join. uh
yeah, totally.
talk, I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
And sometimes you engage someone in that role. And I had a
mhm.
very good friend of mine, we were Will and Grace. So we loved that show and we were
Yeah,
literally Will and Grace. And we had this rule where we could call each other anytime, day or night, and just say 3 minutes about why I'm fabulous because I'm not feeling it. And there was always a catalyst, like some guy didn't show up for a date with me at a Christmas party,
yeah,
or he had a challenging client. And it would just be like 3 minutes, just go, just tell me 3 minutes about why I'm fabulous, why my hair is great, why I'm
I love
smart,
that.
why I'm capable, all that stuff. And then it was like, okay, I'm good. Bye. And there was no story. It was like, well, this happened and then this happened because you
Mm,
tell the story and you feel worse.
yeah, it just compounds the
So you
baggage.
got to
Yeah,
find your 3 minute person. You got to find the person. And now I'm married to him, not Will.
yeah,
Totally different
yeah,
story. But my husband now of 16 years, I can call him and just say, I'm up against something right now and I just need you to speak words of affirmation and confidence and courage into me because I'm not feeling it. I'll tell you
Yeah.
the story later, but right now what I need is
Mhm.
a lift. And so that's what I try to be for people is not the, well, who do you think you are? Because someone
Mhm.
literally said that to my friend. Her husband said that to her. He was like, "Who's Honoree to write a book?" And I was like, "Well, who am I not to write a book, Brent?"
Yeah. I get told that all the time as the dialogue doctor. You don't have a master's in English. Who do you think you are to talk about writing craft?
Who says
And
that to you? Who
yeah,
has
you'd be surprised.
I wouldn't.
So-
I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, but here's what I know for sure is you can have compassion for those folks and
Mhm.
you can say what we say in the South, which is bless your heart because I know because
Yeah.
I'm being a little tongue in cheek, but ultimately when someone is doing this, if I've got
Mhm.
one finger pointed at you, I've got three pointed back at me. So I know whenever
Mhm.
someone is being hypercritical about something, they're just
Mhm.
hypercritical with themselves. Now that doesn't mean I'm not gonna suffer any fool, but I do have compassion for people who are in their heads about things and how it comes out, right? When the tube is squeezed, the stuff comes out. So I have compassion for it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna tolerate it or put up with it, but I will be nice and or kind depending on the situation. But
Mhm.
when someone asks you that question, it would probably be good for you to have a question to come back at them with which is like, well, why do you ask?
Yeah, and I love what you're doing there because it's not just about self-care and deflecting, but it's also about like refusing to take the kind of toxicity that other person's bringing
Well,
into.
it's their
Yeah.
insecurity and their, some people really need and when you say it, the first 7 books you didn't think were good. It took me 7 books to say I was an author.
Mm.
Because I was a self-published author and my COO at the time, we were at a networking event and the guy said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm an executive and business coach and a speaker and a corporate trainer." And she leaned into the conversation. She was one of 3, right? So she kind of
Mhm.
leaned into the middle of the conversation and she said, "And she's an author." And the guy lit up like a Christmas tree. "You're an author? What have you written?" And I was like, "Oh, just whatever." And I was very well,
Just
it
7
doesn't
books.
matter
Yeah.
because I'm not a capital W writer. I don't have a writing degree from
Yeah,
some
insert blank
fancy
here,
university,
whatever. Yeah,
insert blank
whatever you do.
here.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh yeah, I've just self-published some books, but it's not a big deal, right? That's not, meanwhile, I'd made like $500,000 from my books, but I still
Mhm.
was like, it doesn't matter. I'm a lowercase w writer. And after that, she said, You should lead with that.
Mm.
You should lead with author." And I went, why am I not leading with author? And then I had a traditionally published author read my 7 books. And she was like, "You are not a lowercase w writer. You're a capital W writer. You're a good
Mhm.
writer." And she said,
Yeah.
"And I'm fighting to get the rights back for my books because my publisher is terrible." Insert not safe for work
Mhm.
description here, right? She's an attorney. So she's like, "Yeah, I found a loophole in my contract. I'm getting my rights back. I'm going to self publish." She's like, "Because I'm watching you crush it." Meanwhile,
Nice.
all of us are looking for the validation of traditional publishing. And
Mhm.
I don't not, and I will argue, I will arm wrestle, and I will play tiddlywinks with anyone who wants to discuss the different options for publishing. All that to say is I think that it's the right path that
Mhm.
there's a right path for every person, right? I've chosen the
Mhm.
path that works for me at this point in my life and in my career.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the person that says there's only one way, there's only one path, whatever. But I do know that when someone is coming at you, who knows why? But
Mm.
generally, they're not going, "Well, who do you think you are to be the dialogue doctor?" They're probably going, "Oh, that is such a cool title to give oneself. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Why am I not feeling that courageous and confident about my skills that I am doing something like that?" I like to just ask people when they're like, "Well, do you have blah blah blah?" They're, how do you charge so much to do a book for someone? I get a
Mm.
little of that. And I'm just like, you know what? I feel like I haven't met anyone who's written and sold more books than I have in
Mm.
that many languages. And so if you know someone who's done that, I sure do want to meet them because I'm always
Yeah.
curious and I'm always learning and that would be really cool. But I'm curious why do you ask?
Yeah.
And then I follow up with, is that a concern of yours or just a question?
I love that. That's great.
Oh,
Um,
bless your heart.
bless your heart. It's all
Your
that Southern
heart.
charm way of saying bless your heart.
Yes. Yes.
So I think another thing that happens when we adopt the mindset that you're saying of like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm good, I'm
I'm
okay.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can be my authentic self, and that's a positive thing. I think
Yeah.
when we start accepting ourselves in that way, it does really remove blockades to the future, or at least I found it did for me. Like
Right.
I couldn't see past the kind of chaos of the present to dream about the
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
because I didn't actually believe that I could achieve a future. So like I
Mm,
think moving past those blocks is important. And something you taught me to do was visualization, which I'd never done before. Could you talk about that
awesome.
a little bit? Because I think it's such a powerful tool that you use. Um,
Sure.
yeah, if you don't mind, just gonna throw topics at you. I'd be
Throw
like,
the
can we talk about this
topics
one?
at me.
Yeah, talk about this one.
Well,
Talk about this
yeah,
one.
so I started as an athlete. My dad would run. We lived on a farm when I was growing
Mm,
up, so we lived in the country, and my dad would go running. So he
mm,
was a competitive runner. He would run marathons and road races, and I just thought that was super cool. And I'd be like, I want to run. And so I ran my first 10K when I
mm,
was 6. I ran the Bonnie Bell 10K in Cleveland, Ohio when I was 6 years old. And so I got into athletes mindset because I really wanted to go to the Olympics. I wanted
mm.
to run. I wanted to be Joan Benoit Samuelson. Nobody's ever heard of her, but I have. And if you know her, please make her my friend. And I wanted to be Greta Weitz and Joan Benoit Samuelson and run. And so what my dad did well early on was give me athletic mindset. It
Mm.
wasn't called mindset work. It
Yeah.
wasn't called anything like that, but it was very much him saying, when you start a race, start at the very front of the race, start with the elite athletes. You can look over and see Bill Rogers and Greta Weitz
Mm,
and like those folks, and then you're going to
yeah.
take off and they're going to leave you in the dust. But you were there with them. You start in the front, put yourself in the
Mm.
front. I went, okay. I was just a little kid too. Nobody gets mad at little kids when they do that. Adults, they get a little cranky. They're like, hey, snail lady, roll back to the
So
12-minute
funny.
mile people, right? Okay. But
Yeah.
when you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're just
Hmm.
like, you can do anything, right? And so I
Yeah.
heard that a lot, but I would also visualize myself going to the Olympic trials, placing, going to the Olympics. I never went for all of the reasons and they don't matter today, but that's where I
Mm.
started my mindset work and that's where I started visualization. So I always visualize from a year from now, 10 years
Mm.
from now, what I have done in those last 10 years. And I just
Nice.
write it and think about it and visualize it as if it's already been done.
Mm. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, something you coached me to do is I put a sticky note on my computer. I actually have another one right there, but I put one on my computer right by my camera so I could see it that said like because I do the dialogue doctor specifically to pay my kids college tuition. Like it's, this is the way
Nice.
that I pay their college tuition. So I put
Nice.
the number that I needed for the next year that was triple what I was doing the year that I was talking to you. And I put it
And
on
did it
the
work?
thing. I was, oh yeah, totally worked. Totally got there. And I
Yeah.
was a and as I think, as we're moving, like as I started to look at that visualization over and over and over again, it didn't just
Yeah.
become like an aspiration, it became an identity of like this is
Right.
something I'm doing. This is somewhere I'm
Yeah.
going.
Do you have them on your bathroom mirror too?
I don't because I weirdly don't ever look in a bathroom mirror. It's a
Well, but
weird.
your subconscious mind does.
It does, it's true.
So
I
go
should put
get
them
yourself
there.
some 3x5 cards, Amazon overnight delivery. Okay. So and then put your goals, write your goals and put them on the mirror, but write them in the positive present tense
I love
and
it.
then stick them on the mirror.
Yeah.
And then it's amazing. I used to take them down when people would come over. And then I just
Really?
started leaving them up. Yeah, because I'm a very private person.
That
And
makes
so,
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
and then eventually I just was like, I'm just going to leave it up. And so my friends would come out and they'd be like, dang, they wouldn't say that, but this is like, PG or G rated
Hmm.
podcast. They're like,
I,
dang.
that's you can cuss
They're
here.
like,
It's not.
dang, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's so inspiring. And let's have conversations about it. And it really caused some great conversations with my friends because they were like, I had no idea you were working on all of those things. How can I support you? And also, dang,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
You're gonna write 9 books this year. How do you do that? And it would just cause all these great conversations.
That's awesome. I love
And
that.
also, I had no idea. I didn't think people made any money in the book business. And I'm like, oh, honey, sit down.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're like, I love part of the what I wanted people to catch that you just heard, that you just said, what I want people to hear that you just said. That's what I was trying to say.
English.
Is
I know. English is
is
my first
that
language too. I have such a rough time.
so yeah, I do there are like this isn't a self-doubt thing, but there is a like it's a ridiculous world that somebody let me talk in a microphone. But so there's they're
It's all
saying
good.
because I can't get words.
Words.
Don't, yeah. So, but part of what I love that you're saying is that putting yourself out there in the world like that just kind of uh, allows for networking opportunities that you didn't even know might occur.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
potential. But yeah, I have a note card. I put them on because this is where I spend a lot of time at this
Yeah.
desk.
So they're on my lamps. I have 2 lamps
Oh,
and I have them
nice.
on my lamps. They're metal, so I have these magnets.
That's
Oh
super
yeah,
fun.
because my subconscious my I may never consciously read them during the day, but my subconscious mind always sees it.
Yeah, I can see them. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just there. And I
Yeah.
know they're there. There's like a weird reassurance. And the funny thing that started happening with me is my oldest son, who's a senior in college, is a really good artist. He's started when he
Oh,
comes
right on.
home, he'll start drawing pictures on post-it notes and sticking them to the back of my goals to like illustrate
Oh, that's
my goals. So
amazing.
like one of my goals is I
Wow.
have one over there that says like, you know, a strong vision for the next 3 years, which is like a goal for my fiction. Like I want to know what I'm doing for the next, like what my dreams are for
Right.
the next 3 years. He drew a picture of the Avengers Vision on it with like his laser beam shooting at the goal. It's really cute. But like so it's fun to like you're saying,
Wow.
having other people interacting with them too
Yeah.
is a neat and
Yeah.
fun thing.
Well, I show them. I pull them out. My husband sees them and we sit down and discuss them and I'm kind of like, I said to him when I came back from birthday vacation, I said, I'm rolling into a very productive because I don't say crazy, I don't say busy. I
Mm.
say I'm rolling into a very focused and productive 5 weeks.
Mm.
So I'll be asleep by 8, I'll be up at 4. I
Yeah.
love you. You're wonderful and amazing. But if you say something to me and I miss it, just come right here because I've got a lot to accomplish in these next 5 weeks. Because then
Yeah.
we roll into, I get into the holidays, right? So I'm like, it's
Hmm.
Thanksgiving and mastermind kickoff, and then Christmas, and then New Year's, and it's like it's a very fun time, and I want to be
Yeah.
relaxed. So I was like, if I'm going to be relaxed, I've got a lot I need to accomplish, and then
Mm.
then I'm going to be on the couch eating pumpkin pie, like it's my job.
Nice. I love it. I also love how and another thing I just want to, this is another thing I've learned from you that I just want to point out that you just did because you just do it naturally is framing effort in a positive way as something you enjoy and that you're happy to do. Because I think a lot of times we get into this like complaining mindset of like, oh man, I've got to write 9 books this year. I
Yes,
have to do this. It's like
yes.
weighing me down.
I'm having a new stove delivered, and the
Yeah.
delivery guys right now they're downstairs making it all so that my husband can cook things for me.
Yeah.
And I went down and their cast iron, the burners or the cast iron, the under thing, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Hi, I
Yeah.
don't speak English and I don't cook
I don't know
either.
what it's called either, but I know the
The
visual
drip
you're talking
pan.
about.
It's a
Yeah.
drip pan. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
English. It's so heavy. I was like, is you
Yeah.
remember that old game Clue? It
Yeah.
was the professor in the
Yeah.
library with the candlestick. I
Yeah.
was like, it's Honoree in the kitchen with the drip pan.
Because with a cast iron drip pan.
With
That's
a cast
great.
iron drip pan. But
Yeah.
they're like, it's 5 times heavier. And I was like,
Wow.
and I said, I'm so sorry I was upstairs on a call or I would have come and help you. But I was like, they just got the stove and brought it in. And they were like, it's 5 times heavier than the old electric stove.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I have to get on a Zoom today. I have to go do this today. I have to, I'm not laying bricks. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I have people who come and pick up my trash. And somebody in the Facebook group had mentioned, like, you don't know what it's like to have someone's garbage fly into your mouth. And you don't,
Oh,
right? Like at the end of
yeah.
the day, I feel like until they come for me, whoever they
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
they say, Honore, you have to work a real job. You have to work
Yeah.
real hours. You have to do this, that, and the other thing. I am just so incredibly grateful for the fact that without an English literature degree from Harvard or whatever,
Hmm.
I get to be a writer. I get to create for a living. I get to inspire people for a living. I get to do a podcast for a living. I
Hmm.
get to refresh my dashboard and I will have sold books today. I will
Yeah.
have sold courses today. I will have made a difference in the world in a way that I'm choosing to do it. I'm just so incredibly grateful. And so every day I wake up and I'm like, all right, we're still here. No one has come to say the jig is up, sister.
Yeah. No one's come to take you away yet.
No
Yeah.
one's come to
And
take me away.
but I think that like positivity and gratitude is a choice that
It
you're
is.
making.
Yep.
And I think that's a I think, you know, in addition to accepting our authentic selves, I think there is a massive benefit to choosing that like attitude of gratitude. I was avoiding saying because it's such a like, play on words. But
Well,
I
but
think
it's a
that
but it is a but it's one of those things where they go, it's a saying for a reason, right?
mhm,
It,
yeah.
because it is a choice and you can choose happiness. I saw a video last night on Instagram where I probably spend way too much time, but the gal said, one of the ways to be happy is to let everyone off the hook.
Mm,
Just imagine if you let everyone off the hook, everyone that irritates you or upsets you or is doing the wrong thing or, voting the wrong way or
mhm,
not in a way you approve of or whatever. What if you just went, okay, just
yeah.
going to be happy anyway? And that was a very interesting aha moment.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to let everybody off the hook. I'm going to be
Yeah.
happy. I'm going to be happy no matter what. You can't make me not be unhappy. Hmm.
Yeah. And I think the other side of the coin that I've heard you teach about is accepting 100% responsibility for your circumstances in the world around you. And I think that they go
Yeah.
together. Would you
Yeah.
mind talking about that a little bit? Like, what does that mean for you?
Um, that I'm choosing in spite of circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so um I could list 5 things right now that if I allowed them to would prevent me from getting out of bed.
Mm.
Not the least of which that I have a sleep number bed and it's adjustable and I have a television in my room.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
lot of reasons to
And you
stay
don't
in
even
bed.
need the television. You got the phone
I don't
there.
even need the
So you gotta, yeah.
television.
You just stay
Yeah,
in bed with the phone all day. Yeah.
I could just spend the day in bed. Like it's just a real thing.
Yeah.
Um However, I can't always make sense of what is happening.
Mm.
I don't always know why things are working out the way they are, but I am a lady of a certain age, meaning I have some miles and some years, and I can look back over my life and see where things were working out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always want to say for my highest good, although I do believe that everything works out for our highest good, that rejection is protection and that everything we need comes to us when we need it, sometimes
Mm.
just in the nick of time. Um, but I just remember that when I'm in the midst of something that makes me frustrated or
Mm.
sad or angry or worried, right? Because 4 of the 5 things have nothing to do with me.
Mm.
They're just people in my life that are experiencing various challenges of over which I have no control,
Mm.
right? I can say, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, but it's going to work out. Everything
Mm.
is going to work out.
Yeah.
And then I choose to focus on long-term things that I'm excited about and hopeful
Mm.
about, goals that I'm working on. I choose to be grateful
Mm.
for the things that do have, the things that make me laugh, like kitten videos or my dogs being very cute and begging all the time, or the fact that my husband rescued a baby turtle that is like the size of a quarter and it lives in a 40-gallon aquarium, like right there.
Mm.
And so, like, the house, it's like this is the most luxurious house a turtle has ever lived in the history of ever. And it's fun. It's fun
Yeah.
and it's funny. And so there are lots of things that you can focus on, and you can focus on the thing that someone did that made you mad, or you can focus on the things that they did that made you happy or that brought you joy or good
Mm.
fortune or whatever. And so I just choose. Sometimes I have to use the 5-minute rule,
Mm.
like, I'm going to complain about it for 5 minutes, or I'm going to write about it for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to let it go,
Mm.
because I so believe in how our attitude affects our health.
Yeah.
And I want to feel great at all times.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like to feel bad. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just a really conscious decision, and it takes practice to get to the place where I recognize, oh, I'm complaining about something. I'm
Mm.
not focusing on the solution. I'm not focusing on forgiveness. I'm not asking for forgiveness.
Mm. Yeah.
And
No.
that's not getting me where I want to go. So let's turn the beat around, as they say, and make it better. And I'm
Yeah.
certainly not perfect. I'm far, far, far from perfect. And I'm much more conscious of it.
Yeah. I don't hear you saying you're perfect. I hear you saying that you're making active choices about who you want to be in the world, which I think, as somebody who, I really wish I'd met you in my like late 20s and early 30s,
Same.
because
Yeah.
that was the like spinning Jeff that was super out of control.
Mm,
And that, not out of control, and that like I was like, I wasn't unhoused. Well, we were unhoused for a little bit, but I wasn't like, doing drugs or anything like that. I was just working so hard to try to make people happy who were never going to
yeah.
understand me, didn't want to understand me, because I do tend to be kind of an out of the mold thinker. They weren't ever, I was a threat to them because I saw the world differently than they did. And so there was always that coming pushback. And I think when you're in those circumstances, you feel out of control with your attitude. And it's that cycle you're talking about. Like, I would feel terrible about I'd have a conversation with somebody, I'd feel terrible about myself, I'd adopt all the negative things they said, and I would walk around feeling terrible about myself. So then I would eat like a pint of ice cream to try and feel better. And then the ice cream made me feel bad about myself. And then like I couldn't sleep. And
Right.
then like it's just this cycle
Right.
of like
Right.
the
Right.
emotional tying into the physical, tying into the spiritual, tying into the emotional. Like it's
Yeah.
just this overwhelming cycle. And it's I think understanding now, much later in life, that like, no, I can make, well, like last night I got an email. My phone never pings at night. And then last night at like 2 o'clock in the morning, my phone pings. And I got an email that was disappointing. It wasn't what I wanted to hear. And I could feel
Did you write them back and say, please try again?
I did, did not receive.
This
Please,
is
yeah.
this is not, no, nope,
That's
I do
right.
not approve this
That's
message.
right.
Please try your
I'll,
email again. I'm gonna give you another chance.
I'll write back and say, I'm looking forward to your next answer.
That's right.
But yeah, no, but I wanted to spin. Like I wanted my like brain wanted to like
Yeah.
go into anxiety mode at 2 o'clock in the morning, like spin out. And I just
Yeah.
had to take a second to like pause, do a little breathing, to like calm down and be like, okay, this is like
Did you get a no?
I know, and that's the thing, is that once I calm myself down, I realize like, oh, it's not a no, it's a I need more information. But it
Aha.
wasn't the luxurious yes that I wanted. So I immediately started to spin toward that like anxiety, and then having to like make the active choice of like, I'm not going to allow myself to go to that negative place. I'm going to try to see what I can be grateful for about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what's actually there. And once I like calmed myself down and read it, I was like, oh no, this isn't that bad. And I went back to sleep. Right. Like, so it's that kind of like
Good.
ability. I think, part of what I love in your coaching is that discipline of making active choices, of doing the small things every day to like be the
Taking
person you want to be.
100% responsibility for how you feel,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the time.
what you're doing and how you feel. No one can make you feel any way. They made me so angry. It's like, did they?
Yeah,
Or did
yeah.
you?
or
I
did
don't
me?
mean you. I'm just saying in
No, no, yeah,
general.
no, yeah,
In
or did
general,
like,
my daughter will say, "Well, he's really making me angry." Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, "No, you're making you angry. You're choosing to react in a way, in some kind of way, and
yeah,
it sounds like it's not very effective. It's not the call to action to
yeah,
either say, I'm not sure why you're talking to me like that, but that doesn't work for me. So we're going to talk another time unless you calm down,
yeah,
or we're just not going to talk anymore because you're you're not good. I mean, not everyone is good for you. Some people are toxic,
yeah.
and so sometimes, and I'm not saying that the email was toxic. Obviously, you got to a better
He
place
was
about
great.
it, but
I'm the problem. My like wanting
well,
to
but
get
that's
angry about something is the problem. The email's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, it's
Well,
that. Yeah, but I think it's an example of that, like what you're talking about, of like making choices that have that like positive flow. And yeah, I
yeah.
think I lost you there for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sometimes my internet gets so
I
spotty.
lost you for a second, but your expression was hilarious, so I got to enjoy it.
Well, hopefully it's present on the camera for other people to see too.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So one of the things you talk about shifting off of mindset a little bit,
Sure.
because I do want to
Yeah.
get to your work and how, and like, because you do more than mindset work. You help coach people into building fabulous businesses. Talk to me about one of the things that you say is that everybody could write a nonfiction book, and that like there's a nonfiction book inside of you that has
Oh,
probably even has a business behind it. Would you mind talking about that
I would love
for a
to
little
talk
bit?
about. Are you kidding? We talk about it all day. When are we breaking for supper? Um,
Well, if you just got a new stove, your husband's cooking. Just kidding.
that's right. I don't cook.
Yeah.
That's the well, and here's the thing is I will say, do you want me to cook something? He's like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, my wife and I
I've
have the
proven
same
myself.
relationship. I love
Yeah.
cooking and she hates
Yeah.
it. And I think we're like 2 years, we've been married for uh 22 years, but
Wow.
2 years
Multiple.
into our marriage, she was still cooking and I was watching. And she was like, I hate this. And I was like, can I do it? Because I love to cook.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't know how I feel about that role reversal. And I was like, I don't care. I love doing this. You hate doing
Oh
this.
my
Like,
gosh.
we should switch places. And so we have it. It's been that way ever since, and we love it. Like, it's a
Oh
great,
my
like,
gosh.
yeah.
I never cooked. I eat to live. I don't live to eat. And so most of my meals are very boring and very healthy. And my husband's from the South and he learned to cook from his
Hmm.
mom. And so I have somehow roped them into Sunday dinner, and
Yeah.
I clean. So yesterday my husband made a uh prime rib. He made
Nice.
a prime rib that is 6 pounds.
Wow.
And then my mother-in-law made the sweet potatoes and the green beans.
That's
And then I
awesome.
cleaned up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I won.
Yeah. That sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I sit here, I do nothing, I eat, and then I burn it off by cleaning the kitchen. I don't know. I
That's
feel like I
fantastic.
won.
Yeah.
But no, it's not my passion.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I just, I'm like, oh, you want a new gas stove? Sure.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Let's
You'll
have
reap the
one
benefits of
delivered.
that. Yeah.
Let's have that. Let's get a new grill. Of course. No problem. Make that order whatever you'd like.
That's super fun.
No problem. So, um, what was the question? People can write a nonfiction book. Yes,
Yeah. Why do you think people can write a nonfiction book? Talk to me about
because everyone has something that they're passionate about,
that.
that they're knowledgeable about, that they are asked about all the time, that they could turn into a nonfiction book. It's just like I believe people should be paid for the things that are elf, easy, lucrative, fast, and fun.
Mhm.
To have a book around that topic sets you up as the authority, as the author. You're tying your name and your face and your brand recognition to your knowledge and your expertise. And out of that, anything is possible.
Mm.
It's just figuring out what that thing is. Yours is the dialogue doctor, yours is dialogue and fiction and writing fiction. And so you have a book about it. So I don't have to encourage you to do that. However, there are probably courses and coaching programs and speaking you can do, and obviously the podcast, and there are probably lots of other things that you could do to expand on that to serve people in new and different ways. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to anyone that's listening. They do
Yeah, yeah.
have something that they have either thought of and then gone, oh, there's already books about that, or I'm not as much of an expert, or I don't have as much
Mhm.
education. And so they've, please go listen to the beginning of this interview again. And
I was about to say, rewind to the mindset
rewind
and then
to
come back.
minute
Yeah,
3. Yes,
yeah,
rewind to minute 3. And it starts with that inkling that, is it this? Could it be this? Oh, it's that. If I could write it any way that I want it, what would it be?
yeah.
It
I
starts
love
with
that.
that question. If I could build an empire around X topic, what would the
Yeah.
topic be? And then what would it look like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now if I had
Mm.
built out that empire? And empires are not built in a day. They're built day by day over a long period of time.
Yeah, and I going back to the mindset, even the word you use, empire, I think is a powerful word that more of us should adopt. Because I think there's a
I
like,
agree.
oh, I can't build an empire, but I think there's truth
Yeah.
in what you're. It
Yeah.
goes back to your focus on visualization, right? Like if you aim for that tiny goal is where you're going to stop. But if you're aiming for an empire, that's, there's kind of a sky's the limit attitude toward that I
That's
really
right.
appreciate and
Right.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I hear you saying that, like, find your passion, find the thing that you're most excited about, the thing that you like love to talk about, and figure out. Can you talk to a second about, and you did a little bit, but I just want to hit it harder because it's the thing that I hear a lot from people is that, like, well, other people have already done that.
Oh,
Other
yeah.
people have already
So,
said that thing.
yeah, but they haven't said it from your perspective,
Mm,
from your education, from your experience, from your knowledge, from your passion. I mean, everyone is special, right? It's kind of a joke. It's like
yeah.
everyone is special, including you, right? Well,
Yep.
let me say it in a different way that might be helpful. There
Mm,
are different types of motivational speakers. Tony
mhm,
Robbins is a type of motivational speaker. Brene Brown is a type of motivational speaker.
mm.
Some people like them both, but not very many.
Interesting. It's an interesting contrast. Yeah.
Most people prefer, if they like them both, they'll prefer one style over the other,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so,
No,
what
it's
if
so true.
Brene Brown said, well, there's already a motivational speaker in the world? What if Tony Robbins had said, well, there's already Jim Rohn, there's
Mm,
already Zig Ziglar, there's already Brian Tracy?
yeah. Yeah.
I don't, they're already there. I don't need to do it. But every person who decides to do something, even if it's something someone else has done, and hi, there's nothing new,
Yeah.
right? You just have to put your unique spin on it. I think I've put my own unique spin on professional publishing. I
Hmm.
have my own proprietary process that I apply to the books that I am given the stewardship over
Mm,
creating for authors.
yeah.
I run a mastermind. It is different from other masterminds, and I've
Hmm.
customized it and curated it to be the most effective for the people that come and join it, who have said, I was in these other masterminds and they did this that I liked and they did this I didn't care for.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Right. So
think
I could
there's a,
say there are other people that are doing what I'm doing, but they're not, because they're doing something similar to what I'm doing, but I'm putting my own unique imprint on it. So when someone says to me, well, someone else is already doing that, I'm like, but they are not you.
yeah. And I,
And
yeah, I love the abundance mindset of that too, of like, hey, there's more than enough people in the world for Tony Robbins and Brene Brown to both exist in the same
that's right.
space.
And
Uh,
very well.
yeah, and they don't have to compete with each other. They actually probably add to each other as they
Right.
both speak. They encourage
Yes.
each other to find encourage other people to find like what is working for them, which I think is great.
And and if either one of them had said, well, someone else is doing this, the people whose lives have been impacted in a magnificently positive way might never have been impacted in that positive way.
Yeah.
So
What
if you play small, if you do not play as big as you can play, then the person who is just waiting for your message to impact them won't ever be.
mm,
And that's a big bummer.
yeah. Yeah, what a missed opportunity.
In other words, don't screw it up, everybody. Think bigger, play bigger, write your goals down, visualize them. Come on.
You also have a book, You Must Market Your Book, um,
I
which
do.
is great. And
Thank you.
talk to the people listening because marketing is tough. People don't like to do it.
No, come
They
on,
don't want to put
change.
themselves
Got
out
to
there.
change your
So
attitude about marketing.
yeah, talk to me about changing my attitude about marketing. Because I think I want to make sure we're short on time and this is when I want to make sure we hit because I think this is
Yeah.
stuff that whether you're a nonfiction or fiction author, I think the
Yep.
mindset you talk about marketing is super important for everybody.
Awesome. Yes. Well, first of all, I'm the good news hotline. So I only have good news. And one piece of good news is that you can love marketing because you can choose the marketing that fits with your personality, the job of the book, the time you have
Mhm.
available, and the money you have available. So in You Must Market Your Book, as you know, I break marketing down into consumable chunks
Mm,
and easily executable chunks. I don't know anyone who has unlimited time, unlimited money, unlimited bandwidth,
mm,
unlimited tolerance for doing all the things nonstop forever. It's exhausting. So even if
yeah.
you can be on every platform and pay for every form of advertising and be everywhere at the same time, no one really wants to do that anyway. So I'm a strategic thinker. And when I recognized that I needed to be consistent with my promotion, so I need to
Mm,
do the same thing with my book marketing that I do with my writing, with my personal branding and marketing and networking. I realized I needed to figure out what moves the needle the most,
mm,
right? So, in any
yeah.
goal that you want to pursue, there are just a few things you have to do consistently to the exclusion of everything else, thankfully,
Mm,
that move the needle. So, if as an introvert, which I am, the job of my book is to affect someone's life in a certain way. I've got to understand what the job of that book is. The job of the book for me is to sell books, engage clients,
mm,
and either of those and maybe something else. Nonfiction, right? Nonfiction has a job. Nonfiction has the job of educating, informing, and engaging,
mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
So when I understand myself and I understand the job of the book, and I then say, how much money and how much time do I have? Then I can pick the two or three things that move the needle for me
Mm,
and do those two or three things and nothing more, nothing less. So I have a
mm,
newsletter, I go on podcasts, and I meet with people.
mhm.
I continuously create content. So that's my newsletter. And I do a little
Yeah.
bit of social media, more social than media,
Mhm.
where I just post things and I experiment with, if I post the book that I released 8 years ago and no one's bought it in 6 months because they don't know about it, and I post about it and I sell 100 copies and I go, there's still an audience. I need to give this book more love.
Yeah.
Right. So I do that with my book birthdays. When my books
Yeah.
have birthdays, it's like you'll see
Mm,
me promote books that you've never heard of because I've not ever given them book birthdays until I had the idea.
yeah.
Nevertheless, that's the good news. The good news is you can identify the two or three things that help you get the word out about your book. Now, when it comes to fiction, the job of fiction is to provide entertainment and to take people away. And so your job is to connect with people who love your type of book and
Mhm.
provide them entertainment. That's your job. So you spend your time and your money connecting your book with the people who need that type of entertainment.
Yeah.
And as I am writing fiction, I am studying the people who are masterful at it
Yeah.
and they love it. And they'll say, I spend the morning writing my words and the afternoon marketing my books and building a community around their books and building a community of readers. And I don't think I have a lot of fans. I don't have millions of fans and readers, but I
Mm,
have people who will read every book that I write. And I have people say to me, I have the honoree shelf. Are you sure you want a copy of this book? Yes, I have a shelf of your books. I consider that such a huge honor
Yeah.
when there are so many books and so little time
Mhm.
that people would take their time to read and love my books and tell me that. That's amazing. And I feel like I started very early, never taking any one reader for granted.
Yeah. And I think that's
And
something it's hard to
connecting.
do because I think a lot of times we're like, oh, it's not, we want the mass of readers. So we think in huge numbers, ignoring the individuals that love what we're working on. Am I
Well,
making
but
sense?
yeah, but think about who I mentioned in this conversation. We'll start with Tony Robbins. I
Mhm.
started by reading Awaken the Giant Within, then I read Unlimited Power, then I went to UPW, then I went to Date with Destiny, then I went to Life Mastery, then I went to Wealth Mastery, then rinse and repeat. So I've been to
Mhm.
all of the, I mean, I'm the lifetime value of Honoree the customer to Tony Robbins is six figures.
Yeah.
I'm still talking about it. I'm still listening to all of the tape programs that I bought of his, which by the
Mhm.
way are all of them,
Yeah.
all of his books, all of his seminars. And it's been um 31 years since I did my first fire walk.
Nice. That's awesome.
So 31 years I've been a fan,
Yeah.
reading, sharing, and
Following
and
his
so
work.
I've
Yeah.
impacted. So when you think about why don't, I don't have time for one person. I've got to focus on the many people. Ultimately, the number one way people find out about a book is by recommendation.
Mhm.
The number one way. What are you reading? I'm looking for a book to read. Or have you read X book? You have no, just I know you have 100 books in your to be read pile. I think mine is actually a four-figure number as I have a problem,
Yep.
right? I am like Book Buyers Anonymous is like
Yeah.
a group I should lead. Um, and you need to put this at the top of the pile and read it right now.
Mhm.
And so when someone says that to you, when someone says it to me, I sure do listen. And I have
Yeah.
so many friends now that are authors, it's a problem because now they're always coming out with books and I'm constantly promoting other people's books because I believe in the philosophy of give away what you want more of. So
Yeah.
if you want more love and hugs and money and book reviews, then you got to give away all those things.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
Um, I don't want to hold you past time. We're out of time. So thank you so much for
of
doing
course.
this with
I
me.
still have a little more time. I'm not in a rush, just so you know.
Oh, thanks. Where can people find you? I mean, well, I'll say you're at honoreecorder.com.
I am.
If somebody's looking to engage with your work for the first time, where would you recommend they start?
Well, it depends on what they are looking to do. If they're writing nonfiction, they'll want to go to honoreecorder.com and just grab a copy of Write Your First Nonfiction Book.
Nice. Okay. Great. If
Yeah,
they're looking to market, um, I totally recommend
you
the
must
You
market.
Must Market Your Book. And
Yeah,
then,
there's three. You must market your book. I must market my book workbook, which puts the
yeah.
strategy that I have pulled together after many books and many years into practice. And then there's the course, Book Marketing Mastery,
Hmm.
which allows you to come do what Jeff does, which is sometimes come to the live Q&As and hang out with the kids
Yep.
at the during the monthly thing. We have a good time.
Yeah. And my two favorite readers are prosperity writers. It's not showing up on the camera. It's not, there
Thank
we go.
you.
Prosperity,
Thank
and
you.
then this is
Yeah.
the other one I love.
Oh, I
You're effing doing it. You're stop trying so effing hard is
yeah.
my other favorite. One of
Yeah.
yours, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Honore, I'm gonna hit stop and you and I can chat a little bit more. Thanks again
Love
for
it.
coming
Thank
on.
you so much. Thank you so much.